That is me, Danny Bonaduce, life coach. So you should call me right now. Here's the phone number. It's 1-800-252-1025. Also, we have an email address, lifecoach@KZOK.com. Life Coach brought to you by Goldberg Jones Divorce for Men. Call 1-800-DIVORCE. I believe we will be starting with an email today.
We will start with an email. And remember, when you make the call this morning to Life Coach, change your name if you would like to. You can stay anonymous at 800-252-1025. We've got an email from Ken in Gig Harbor. My wife and I disagree slightly on the disciplinary methods for our 5-year-old son. He acts out from time to time. He throws fits or talks back to us. My wife seems to take these things very personally. She becomes emotional when he acts out. I see it as him testing our limits to see if he can get away with it, but she gets upset. We use a timeout bench where he has to sit on the bench for a set amount of time. I'm pretty lenient with the amount of time, how long it's going to be. I think he just needs to cool off and think about what he's done. My wife sees it as a necessary punishment and is very strict about the length of time. Who is right on this?
Well, to a surprise, and believe me, I will explain this because I don't want to be this guy. You're both right. You're right almost across the board. And if it was only you parenting, your method is fine. Here's the thing about your wife being very strict and you're being lenient about the time. What I get from that with a 5-year-old, and your wife, tell her she can't get emotional about a 5-year-old. That's, she just shouldn't do that. Everybody's going to be in disarray when the mom does that. But here's the thing. When you say, all right, young man, here's what I get from what your email, and thank you for sending it, by the way. Young man, you sit on the timeout bench right now, and don't you move for 5 minutes. And then you go about 3 minutes in, you know what? He's calmed down. Everything seems to be cool. Let's let Jimmy up from the timeout bench. And then you do. By the way, I'm kind of okay with that. But here's what your wife is doing. Sit down there, little Timmy, and don't you move for 5 minutes. And then she looks at her watch. And at 4 minutes, 57 seconds, that kid is still not getting up till 5 minutes is back. I got to go with your wife on this one. You got to deliver the discipline that you say you will. I know little Bobby. I've changed his kid's name 11 times already. I know that little Susan doesn't have a watch and can't tell it hasn't been exactly 5 minutes. What she can tell is when you're caving. Your son can tell when you're caving, and I don't want you to cave in front of your son. I did not believe this. I didn't want to be the cool dad. I was never an idiot. I know the cool dad is stupid, but it turned out I was being the cool dad by letting kids off punishments and things like that. My wife, Amy, who comes from a very strict house, and when my son is around, she's a fairly strict disciplinarian, and she said to me, kids crave discipline. And I said, shenanigans. Kids crave ice cream. I know that you're a lunatic. So I looked it up, and I looked up all sorts of different reports on, you know what? Kids crave discipline. They want it. It shows them that you really care. So here's what I get in the long run from what I've read. And I really have read a bunch of reports. I wanted to prove my wife wrong. I don't like my wife is right. I want to be right. It turned out she was right. And I read a bunch of different articles until I just caved and went, okay, she's right. When you give Bobby a 5-minute time out and that 3 minutes, you go, all right, it seems to me you've learned your lesson. What he's learning is that discipline is malleable in this house, that it can go one way or another. And I got to go with your wife and that it needs to be constant. So I think your wife needs to lighten up in general, but when punishment is applied, I think you'd have a consistent front on this, and all timeouts and things like that should be of the duration that father or mother say it is and not a second shorter. All right, there you go.
If you've got a question for the life coach, call right now, 800-252-1025. Any kind of problem you have, Danny Bonaduce is here to help. Make the call right now. Call yourself Steve or Becky or one of the other 10 names Danny is calling people this morning.
So Bobby and Sue this morning happened.
Becky in Seattle has sent an email. Quite often, I listen to your show, and you mention a service or a place to get ideas or referrals for drug and alcohol treatment. It's something in King County, but I can't remember what it is. Can you tell me the name of the place you've suggested to people? My son has developed a Percocet addiction.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I need to get him some help.
You know what? There's lots of, people, a huge portion of the American workforce was kind of grinding to a halt because of Vicodin and OxyContin and Percocet and things like that. And luckily, or as a response to the workforce being stoned out of their minds, people have really helped and come up with a lot of different ways to be of benefit, of service to those of us. To those of us, what the hell, addicted to opiates. So here's what it is. I want you to write this down. It's recovery.org. Now, that is not a place, as far as I understand it, that's not a place that you can go. It's a database of all the recovery centers in King County and elsewhere. So again, if you're looking for a place that can help you out, and there are a lot of them, there's recovery.org, and that's a database that will help you out.
Yeah, you were saying at one point it was like Recovery Centers of King County, and that is also the database that's going to show all the different places because the demand is so high.
That is a real address, Recovery Centers King County.
So, the demand is super high for people because, like you said, it's become such a
yeah, it really has. I mean, offices, like I said, they're grinding to a halt because so many people, and they're not even high anymore. Those opiates, they, after a very short while, stop getting you high. I had a friend, and it turns out this isn't even extravagant. Anybody here ever taken extra strength Vicodin?
No.
Okay, I took some extra strength Vicodin after dental surgery, and man, put me on my butt. So what do? Because I abuse things. I took 4 at a time, and I ended up, I think, with 6 at a time till my prescription ran out, which is only about 4 days with a guy like me. I had a friend, and I called him a liar, took 55 extra strength Vicodin a day and every day and reported to work. Got to work. Yes. And then, so I I was friends with Dr. Drew, and I asked Dr. Drew, I said, because he knew the same guy. I said, is he lying? Does he just mean a lot, or does he really mean 55? And he said, it's weird because I have a client right here that takes exactly double that, 110 every single day. That's crazy. Yes. So you get immune to it. The reason you're taking 110, they're expensive, and you're getting in trouble with your family. And the reason you're taking 110 and 50 and 25 is they stopped working. So it's not even like a good buzz that's going to continue to get you high. You're just, after a while, you're trying not to get sick.
Yikes. Any kind of question you have, if it's work or relationships or addiction, Danny Bonaduce is here to help you this morning at 800-252-1025. 24/7, you can email lifecoach@KZOK.com. Jeff in Bellevue has sent an email. My wedding anniversary is coming up, and I want to take my wife away for the weekend, just the two of us without the kids, but money's tight. I'm looking at hotels and resorts even just a couple hours away from our home, and the rates are really high. You throw in gas and other travel costs, we're now killing my budget. Can I just book a room at a decent place in town and go out for a nice dinner and plan some activities? Or am I being too much of a cheapskate, and do we actually need to get away?
Well, I can't judge if you need to get away or not. That's entirely up to you. But I will tell you this. There's a reason that you're making these plans. There's a reason you know how much that resorts are. Because I would recommend, what was it called? Suncadia. Amy and I went to Suncadia. It's a resort. It's about 2 hours away from me. It was wonderful and a game changer on our attitudes. But I feel you're paying, dude. That was expensive. If you're on a tight budget, that's not the place for you. And there are very few places that are for you. But there's so many things that you can Google and search out. I don't know what your budget is, but I find it's beautiful weather. If you want to get, where is he from again?
Bellevue.
Bellevue. If you wanted to stay in Bellevue, there's like 3 really resort-like hotels where the room rate is under $200 a night. Certainly during the week, you could probably get a better deal. And what you do is you go down to the pool with the wife, the kids, or the husband and the kids and stuff like that. And it feels like a real resort. And you could be across the street from your house. But that's what I would do. I would stay close or go to downtown Seattle or go to the places on the water. And once you get right out of Seattle and Bellevue, no cheap date there. And go and stay on the water an hour out of town, but no place, that has a lot of resorts. You can do less than $200 a night. And when you feed the family at a restaurant nearby, I think you'll be doing okay. So just, Google it and find out what you can do on the water.
Let's put you on with Beth in Puyallup. Beth, you're on with the Life Coach.
Hiya, Beth. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine. I'm on the road, so
what's up?
Hopefully you can hear me. Well, I have 2 children. I have a daughter who's 23, and she was diagnosed with ADD and a processing disorder when she was in 6th grade.
I'm sorry. What is the other disorder?
A processing disorder, which means that she has issues with processing like things like math, and it takes her a while if she's not medicated to process what you're telling her. Like, you can't give her tasks to do. Go up to your room, do this, do that, do this, do that, because she can't process it. It has to be either written down or just one thing at a time.
Okay, you realize that a lot of parents are hearing. I tell one of my kids to go upstairs and clean their room, and they don't do it. They don't necessarily have a disorder. They're lazy.
Yeah, no, right. But she does have a processing disorder. So
All
I
right.
said, go get some milk and pour it in a cup and bring it outside. She has to think about it,
All right.
So she was definitely diagnosed. Anyways.
All right.
So recently, well, she graduated high school, which was a big accomplishment because she had what they call an IEP in math. She can't do math very well, and was very successful and graduated, low in the class, but she graduated.
She graduated. There was an MR on my high school diploma, which I've told you this before, I thought stood for mentally retarded because I just did so poorly. It stood for minimum requirements. But I graduated high school. That was a whole thing for my family that I graduated high school. So God bless your daughter for graduating high school. It's no easy task.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And I was very proud of her. And she's a sweet girl. Don't get me wrong. She's a bit behind, emotionally. She's 23, but I think she's about an 17, 18-year-old in her emotions. Anyway.
Right.
So she's been going to a community college, and we've been paying for it, and she's unable to pass the math. She's taken it. She's been dishonest with us, okay? So we pay for the college, but we don't get to see her grades, unless she shows it to us. We can't, really, she lives at home. She was only taking 1 to 2 courses a semester because she can't do more than that. Okay, she's unable to do more than that. It's hard for her to go to school, but she's in community college and she wants to become, work in the vet tech industry. And
let me ask you something, Beth, just for my own edification. If I go strolling on up to your 23-year-old daughter and I say, "Hey, what's new?" and she answers me that, and I go, "Do you go to school?" and she answers that, by the end of that 2-sentence conversation, am I going to know there's something different and or wrong with your daughter, or is she going to pull off seeming perfectly normal to me?
No, she'll be perfectly normal to you. Yeah. So she's okay in society. She has friends. She's social. She has learning difficulties.
All right, so I'm pretty sure I got that, even though it was a little bit confusing for me. So what is your actual question for me?
So this is the actual question. This is what I had to do, okay? She's failed math 4 times, and it's high school math still. She's in community college. She can't pass it, okay? She just can't process it. Lots of people can't process math, So I had to tell her that, maybe going to college and pursuing what she's doing right now is not for her because she has to pass all these math courses in order to become a vet tech.
Right.
Okay. So I
didn't understand that, but my wife told me about that. She was a history major. She had to take all these crazy classes to get her history degree. So yeah, I understand. All right, now still, I'm not sure I got your question.
And I want to encourage her, but I had to tell her that maybe college had to wait. She's got to be a productive member of society. We started charging her rent in February, just $80 a month, and I wanted her to take over her cell phone. She has a job. She works at Safeway, and she has a job and she makes money. But she's been sleeping till noon. She doesn't think she has to do anything around the house.
Here's the thing I was getting to, and I just don't want to step on my own tongue here. Because I said it right early off. I said, "Are you sure you're not getting played?" And you said, "No, she's been diagnosed," and then I believe you. Now these two have to marry. She's been diagnosed. She has an attention deficit disorder. She has a processing disorder. And she's playing you. You have to decide what part of that you can deal with because she can't sleep all day. I don't care. She has one leg. She can't sleep all day. Those are the rules. If you have to pay for college and she can hold down a job, then she doesn't get to go to college or she has to pay part of it back anymore. But here's the thing. You have all sorts of guilt all over this, Beth, and you're guilty that your daughter's got the processing and the ADD and life is so difficult for her. And I believe all that, and life is hard. I'm not going to say life's hard for all of us. Life is exceptionally hard for your 23-year-old daughter who has all these things wrong with her. But at the end of that sentence, she's got to play by the rules. And here's what you have to do. And I would say this for almost any other person that has any kind of handicap at all that is holding them back. You got to start treating them just like you would treat anybody else. And your kid needs to get up around 8 o'clock in the morning. Make her first thing in the morning. This is the thing. I read this somewhere. This gives you a good step up into the day. Make your bed right away. If she takes medicine, she should take her medicine before getting the day started. But even though it's unfortunate your daughter's got all this stuff going wrong, she's still playing you, Beth, and you've got to stop putting up with it. Good luck. Hey, and that is all the time we have for Danny Bonaduce, Life Coach this morning. Beth, I really appreciate your call this morning and all your emails. Thank you very much. Life Coach is brought to you by Goldberg Jones. Divorce for Men. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.